Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everyone is having a wonderful start to the day. We got another Friday zero data expiration. There's a lot happening right now just to get everyone in. Just to start off the day of Vago was shooting. So good morning again. Managed to goals on Avago. The moment we opened up, it was up over 100%. I couldn't even, it was moving so fast, I could barely write it into the Discord. So again, good morning. If you took Vago, managed to goals, that trade is up. I hope everyone is having an amazing week so far. Okay. Right now, what we're dealing with is bank earnings, right? We finally went positive. If you saw the morning call, we was negative. We're finally going positive. You can see the ES is coming up, right? Up 3.33%. NASDAQ is coming up, right? We got GS is up 1.2, which is interesting. We may look for a play for next week. JP Morgan, they did good. They beat. They're up 3%. Looks like Wells Fargo is coming up. Bank of America is coming up. So we're starting to see the banks come up. Let's see where Microsoft is at. SPY is coming up. Let's see if it gets to 381. Okay, Microsoft is 385. So this is good. This is good. Good morning. Good morning. The market is in inflation mode. You see SPX, big gap up. Okay, ES is over 4,800. So the market is in inflation mode right now. But good morning, family. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How you living? How you feeling? How you feeling, baby? Good morning. We got a mix of data this week, right? We got this is post CPI. We got the CPI report yesterday. We got PPI today. The Fed futures are not moving. They're still pricing in cuts as early as March. So this is helping us with this bull run. And then we got the beginning of earnings season. So we got to hear from Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, BlackRock, Bank of America. And then we still got more earnings next week. GS, Netflix, and then the whole Magnificent Seven is going to start reporting. So we're leading into a big week, and then the big event is through the end of the month. So that's going to be very interesting. But good morning. Good morning, family. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yeah, Vago was moving fast. It was difficult for me to sell and then right in the Discord sell. That was one of those fast moving trades right now. But you can see the banks are moving fast right now as well. We got GS. So again, they report next week, right? So I'm looking at GS right now. But good morning. Good morning. Good morning, family. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, let's go. SPX, Freddie 4797. So good morning. Good morning, Donnie. How you feeling? Good morning, Jet Set. Oh, how you living, Jew? Jew already know how you living. Good morning, Marcel. Good morning, Carl. Good to see you, family. My good brother. Good morning, Ra. Good morning, Roxanne. How you living? How you living? Good morning, Tanya. Good morning, Titus. Oh, let's go, Tafa. You ready? Good morning, Scott. Y'all ready to play? Y'all ready to play? Good morning. Good morning, family. Oh, there go SPX 4800. So SPY starting to come up. Let's see if that goes positive there. Again, if you took a Vago, managed to goals. Manage two goals. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, family. Good start. Nice, good start. Good morning. Okay, JP Morgan, little pullback. SPX doing good. We're above 4,800. So let's see if we could get 4809. Microsoft is moving. Remember, we got the roll up on Microsoft. And then we got next week's. So those are coming back to life, right? Because we got killed on that drop. That drop and pop yesterday hurt the premium. So let's see, it's coming back to life. We got Goldman Sachs for next week, right? Those premiums are coming back to life. We got Microsoft for next week. We got SPY for today. So those are the 481. So if SPY can get some movement there, that would be great. Again, Avago starting to come back. Some decent plays. Let's see if AMD could get some movement. Let's see. Let's see what we got on the sectors so far. Okay, so the Russell's leading at 1.1%. Behind it, you have the S&P 500 at 0.4%. NASDAQ is underneath it at 0.3%. And then the Dow Jones is the least up for the day at 0.2%. So let's see for the sectors. You have energy leading, which is interesting, right? Everything that happened last night, energy is leading at 1.6%, right? A lot of that oil use contributed to that. Real estate is up 0.9%. Utilities is also up 0.9%. Financials is up 0.8%, right? Makes sense. They are reporting earnings. Materials is up 0.6%. Communications and consumer staples both up 0.5%. Industrials is up 0.4%. Technology is up 0.4%. Healthcare is only up 0.1%, and consumer discretionary is the only sector that's red on the day. So where's Tesla? Where's Tesla? Okay, so Tesla's getting a pop. That's good. They had bad news. The news on Tesla wasn't so great. They're cutting prices. Okay. See Microsoft 386. Right, so we're at 448.01 on SPX. Let's get Bank of America out of here. SMCI. So they're coming up almost 1%. NVIDIA is negative. Interesting. LRCX. Okay, ASML. They're negative. MU. Qualcomm. They're positive. Okay, Meta. They're up 1.1. So Meta's flying. Amazon is positive. Right. Tesla's down, but we're seeing a bounce, and Amazon's positive. Let's check Netflix. They had the news prior to earnings. That was big news that they dropped going into their earnings, but they're positive. Okay, Avago is 110 again. So a $10 pop in Avago, and those 1120s fly. Okay. Let's see where's Coin. Coin is down 2%. MSTR is down 4%. Sheesh. Okay, let's see where the cybers are at. ZS. So ZS is flying. Again, if you had the 240 calls, ZS is 233 right now. Where's PanW? They're up as well. Crowd. Okay, all the cyber names are flying in tandem. Let's look at the cloud names. Snow, MDB, they're up. CRM, they're up 1%. Okay, we're starting to see some movement in tandem, right? The chip names are mixed. Banks are mixed. His sectors are mixed too as well, right? A lot of consumer staples, energy is leading on the day. Financials is up there because they're reporting. Let's see if that's enough to get SPX to the highs. I mean, we're already breaking 52-week high at 48.02. Let's see. Let's see where the yield. They're down 1%. See where the dollar's at. The dollar's down. So it's looking good. It's looking good. Avago screaming now. And again, managed to goals on Avago. Those are up 3x. The Avago play is up 3x now. Avago's in the gap. In the gap. This is good. This is good. So understand that we got earnings. Okay. Earnings started today. And then next week, we're gonna get more from banks, but then now big tech is gonna be reporting. And then the next catalyst is we have to wait until January 31st for more of like economic data. And obviously, Grandma House, we're gonna be hearing from Powell. So, the whole idea is keep an eye out for earnings, right? Any earnings play, we're gonna be positioning ourselves. But you should start asking yourself, what earnings, what stocks you want to look at, right? And also what stocks you want to hold, right? Because this is something that is important to understand. I've been trading on and off, right? It's going on, say, 10 years, right? And understand like the realization that most people have, it's not to say that you cannot make money off of trading, because obviously you see us do it every day, but understand that, yeah, there's great opportunities to make quicker money, more aggressive throughout trading. But that's why I always say, if you're doing this without a long term, it doesn't make sense, right? This is why I always want you to think about the long term and understand, like, think, just go back to 2020 and look at where prices are now, right? And that's just 4 years, right? So just understand, if you're trying to learn how to trade and, you know, do this for more capital, more income, it does not make sense if you're not buying for the long term first and then doing this to increase the capital to ultimately allocate more into your long term. This is why, if you knew about the company and held them for as long as you have been trading, you would have, far more gains, or you'd have seen, you'd have learned after a couple years of trading, right? So this is something to keep in mind. Let's see, where's Netflix? Again, Avago is very volatile. This thing pops $5 to $10, drops $10, will rip back up $20. So just keep in mind, right? We bought at 1.3. They're 3.2 right now. Managed to go. Those are 3x. Netflix, again, Netflix went as high as 503. That was their high. But Netflix news was big. Their news was related to advertisers. They pretty much increased their ad. They increased their ad users by like 30% in the last quarter. So it's pretty wild news to come out ahead of their earnings. Their earnings, what, next week? Let's earnings, Netflix, in January 23rd. Right. So their earnings in 2 weeks. All right, so that's pretty big news. Okay, let's see. A small pullback on JP Morgan. Tesla. Tesla's finally getting a pop. I mean, it's been underperforming for some while. I mean, their deliveries wasn't bad, but it also wasn't the greatest. And then cutting prices, that can have an effect. But we're seeing a nice little bounce here. And then the dollar's down. So that's good for the overall market, right? Yesterday, we had the dollar coming up. Let's see if I can pull that up there. Right, you can see yesterday. This was yesterday. The dollar was coming up. Right, we had slightly hotter data. Right, you had hotter CPI, I should say, or it was in line. However, people want to, bring it up, but it was higher than what people were forecasting. Right, and the dollar, since we started the new year, I mean, the dollar has been the culprit again, and the dollar is the only thing that has not came down since the start, right? If we go 1 year, 1 day, like it's been on a high. So we're finally seeing it calm down. And I think that was the problem more or less from yesterday. KZS is moving. Again, ZS is moving, managed to goes. The banks are starting to fade, so just keep that in mind. JP Morgan, where's GS? They were up 1%. GS is coming down. See Bank of America, they're negative. Wells Fargo, they should be negative as well. Where's NVIDIA? So NVIDIA just went positive. Interesting day because we're seeing a mix in most of your names, right? But again, this is post CPI, right? CPI was the core CPI was in line. Headline came in like a point one hotter. Um, it wasn't like a big move. And again, I don't think the story changed. You know, I mean, if you want to read into it, we can, but I just think like it was a nothing burger, nothing really happened. And then today, the PPI helped us go positive, right? We had a immediate reaction. Let's see the bonds. Right, we had immediate reaction on the bond market, right? They're positive. So that helped us on the day. But as far as the Fed futures, let's see if I can pull them up. If I pull them up here, there we go. As far as the Fed futures, let's get Powell out of here. Right, you can see it. This is for March. Right, it's just the data in the Fed. The data we got yesterday, yeah, it came in a little hotter, which was bearish, right? The Fed is always bearish in a way. Um, the Fed alone is bearish for markets, like when you think about it, like their intent on what they're trying to do. But the markets are relentless, I should say. Like markets are relentless, markets are greedy, and they usually want to do anything. Just keep that in your mind. Like market makers, hedge funds, like they want to push the buck. Understand that. Like, and this is where like yesterday's data was nothing. I think the data was as neutral as possible, and everyone will say, you know, they'll grab their own piece from it, but it's gonna be wherever the computers want to take us at this point, because like I don't think there's a real clear cut signal, and the market is just pricing in, the Fed futures market is pricing a cut as early as March, right? So this is where the Fed's funds rate are at right now, right? We're at 5.5 actual as of December 13th, 2023, right? And we've been there for a couple months now. So if we look at March 2024 here, right, you could just go investing.com. This is the Fed rate monitor tool. This is what we use to gauge, what is the Fed going to do and when is the next Fed meeting, right? So you can see the decrease of 5.00 to 5.25, and the odds are 76.9. So that's the highest odds. So they're pricing in cuts for as early as March. So that's interesting. So now we're starting to see a pullback on SPX. Nvidia is coming down. Let's see. I hope Nvidia holds. Let's see. Who's the runner on the day? Who is the top mover on the day? Let's see what we get. S&P 500. So the top mover on the day is actually Bank of New York Mellon. Interesting. Moderna's up 2.5. Where's Eli Lilly? Okay, Lilly's down. Okay. Next week. I think next week, what, is short week? Right? Yeah, Monday is MLK. Tuesday, we get Empire State Manufacturing. I'm scoping out what we got for next week, because we're gonna have to start looking at next week premiums. Core retail sales on Wednesday. You see, Thursday is really nothing huge. There's no big data for next week. But we're gonna get earnings. So we got earnings for a backdrop. Okay, Uber, they're up 1.8. Okay. One of the mega cap companies is gonna make a big move for earnings. I don't know if it's gonna. I think Netflix is the sleeper. I think Netflix is the sleeper. We're gonna see. We're gonna see, but I'm putting it out there early. Remember last time it was Nvidia and Meta. I think this time Netflix is the sleeper. Write that down. Write that down. Let's see, SMCI. SMCI is up 1.3. Up, I need a charger. Give me a second, y'all. Hey, JP Morgan is going lower. That's not good. They had the best earnings. Okay, there we go. So what y'all looking at? Put it in the chat. Any comments, questions? What are you looking at? Ideas. What are your ideas? Again, this is a market that rewards big ideas. What are your ideas? A Vago trade. That was an idea. And I thought a Vago would run up to 1120, right? In that gap, I thought the gap would take it up. It probably would by the end of the day. But why not take 100% now? But it was an idea and we executed on it. Tesla. So Tesla been underperforming. Let's look at Tesla. Right? Tesla has been underperforming for some days now. This is a 20-day 1 hour chart, right? So each black column is a day. Each gray is after hours. Just to help your eyes out if you're on a laptop or phone, right? So for the past couple days, Tesla has just been underperforming, right? I would say Tesla has been underperforming since the delivery numbers, right? They didn't beat BDY. And BDY came in at like 523,000, where Tesla came in at 484,000. So that gave them a bit of a disdain. But now they're cutting prices in China. You don't want to start a price war. So let's see how the market really takes it. Right. So just keep in mind, we're seeing a bounce in Tesla, but they're still down for the day. They gapped down on that news. Right. With Tesla, I would need Tesla above 240. I would need at least a $20 move to even sniff it. SPX. Oh my God. No way. No way. What you got? What you got? More stocks. More stocks. Put the stocks while we experience the drop. Drop your stocks. Drop your stocks. Even if you got some knowledge or wisdom, drop your wisdom. Man, JP Morgan's is falling. This is crazy. Let's see, they're still up 1%, but they gave back that pop. They dropped at least $4, right? One will ask Stock Baby, why are you looking at JPM? Like, what's the significance about it? And I would say that's a great question because the banks just reported earnings. And while we had certain banks that didn't do well, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan was one of the ones that actually did do well and they beat. The fact that the market is now giving those gains back, and now you're seeing SPX start to drop with it, it gives us a bit of an indicator where we can use it as a bellwether, saying, well, if JP Morgan goes negative and they had good earnings and they did pretty well, the market liked it. But now that we're going down, it gives us an idea to be cautious and see where the direction is heading. So SPX looks like it's trying to go negative here. SPX is looking like we're going to go negative again. If you had a Vago, I hope you sold. Okay. That trade was up 100%, but now it's going down, down, down. I mean, it's underneath where we bought it. So it gave you two chances to sell when we first got on, and then a couple minutes after. But this is the new hour movement, right? So 30 minutes, we got that good pump, but now you're starting to see the market reverse a bit here. AMD 145 put. Let's look at AMD. Let's look at AMD. Did any news drop? Because that's a big drop. Did we get any news on Sana? Any news on the Middle East? Outside of what we already had. Let's look at AMD while someone searched the news. Okay, AMD 145 hedge for the day. That'll be decent. But keep in mind where AMD has been getting support around 145, 143 level. I'll be staying clear of a put with time because all AMD has to come out and pre-announce their AI chips and say that it's in demand and this thing will fly. That's what I was hoping for this week. That they will pre-announce saying the AI chips is in demand. You know, Lisa Su comes out and it flies through 150, 155, 162. That's what I'm looking for. Right. But keep in mind the trend. The trend is up right now. The trend is not down. So technically looking at puts for a hedge, you can do that. But to counter trend, that's a difficult thing. Like, for example, MSTR, they're heading down, right? It's like no, they're going down, right? They may even break 500 and hit 480 today, right? Coin is heading down. Like they got big news, huge news, and they're still heading down, right? And even think about it, that may be a great play. Let's check the premiums on that bad boy. Oh, the premium is pretty cheap. The premiums are pretty cheap there. Let's see. Okay. SPX got a small pop. Got a small pop. Okay. Let's see. $80. Oh, oh, starting to sneeze like an old man now. Oh, thank you. Anyone say God bless you? Thank you. Let's see. I mean, Michael, Mr. Saylor and Coin CEO has been selling shares into the whole Bitcoin spot ETF approval. So this is interesting. Now they got the approval and they're still going down. Let's see if it breaks 500. Okay, Vago coming back up. Got a little pop there. SPX hitting the pop. Now Tesla's actually going down. Let's see. AMD got a pop as well. Where's SMCI? SMCI is holding great. Any more stocks? Put your stocks in the chat. Put your ideas in the chat. What you got? See, Baba. Now, Baba, what about China stocks for 2024? See, Baba Baidu. I think Baba killed the stock, honestly. Um, I don't know if you recall when they announced the whole six business segmentation into like AI, cloud, and everything. And then just recently they recalled it. And I think that had a lot to do with Baba's drop. I think if it could get above 90, I would sniff it for Baba. Um, Baidu, uh, same thing. I don't think because number one, China's recovery is uh is less robust than what people thought it would be. And then also they're showing signs of what was I read an article just the other day about China. Let's see. Oh, again, right. So here it says China's consumer price marked their longest streak of declines since 2009. It said deflation that may require more government support to reverse, right? The consumer price index slipped 0.3% in December from a year earlier, in line with economists' expectations for a third straight month of declines. Exports also fell in the first annual drop since 2016 for what has historically been a major pillar of growth for China's economy. China needs to act boldly to break the deflationary cycle. So deflation is something I'm afraid of. So that's not it's not a good look for China or China names. MSTR is starting to move. Good, very good questions. Very good questions. Keep bringing them. What you got? What you got? Put it in the chat. More questions, more ideas. China, gold, the gold miners, the banks, I don't know, chips. Put it in the chat. Nike, whatever you got. Whatever you got. Management tips, right? Risk management. Stop loss. Are you still trading with a stop loss? Do you believe a stop loss protects you? What do you got? Let's see, ready? Got Microsoft on the screen. Okay, Tesla's heading back down. Ooh, y'all coming in with the good questions. Rug pull for quad which? Let's see if hold on. Let's see if NASDAQ put out the calendar for the year. Give me a second. Let's see where that's that at. NASDAQ trading. Let's see if we could get the calendar. No, trading calendar. Okay, there we go. Let's see. I can save this. It's not letting me save it. Let's see. Oh, that's why this thing is not an image. Okay, so we'll turn it into one. But let me share it. So Yan, right? So you got you can see it here, the options market, right? You see it right here. The purple is triple which is the expirations of equities, options, index futures. And then the green circle is the monthly options expiration. Right. So quad witch will be in March. Right. And if I'm correct, I think we actually get a FOMC in March as well. Right. I would think quad witch, either quad witch, CPI, and FOMC will be around this whole time frame. Right. Within that week of March 17th, you have either FOMC, CPI, one of the big datas. I think that will actually have more weight than quad witch. Good question though. Good question. Let's see. Federal Reserve calendar. See, because now we could do the research. We can actually plan ahead, right? Let's see, calendar, Federal Reserve, events. FOMC calendar. So March 19th to March 20th, right? So March 19th. You see it, Jan? Right, March 19th to March 20. Right, so FOMC is going to be around I mean Quad Witch is the week before. So it's going to be on that Friday. Let's see where CPI March. Let's see. So March 12. March 12 is CPI. So yeah, that week is going to be big. This week is going to be big. So you got CPI on the 12th, and then March 15th you got quad witch, and then the week after on the 20th we're going to have FOMC. So it's going to be back to back to back. I can't say it's going to be a rug pull, or we may fly off of CPI. Who knows? Let's see. Okay, now we're starting to head down. SPX. That's not good. Where's JP Morgan? JP Morgan. Okay, they're still giving back their gains. Jeez, they just killed the premiums of MSTR. It was up 30%, but we got a pop and they killed the premiums. Coin. Now it needs to drop underneath 500. Oh man, SPX coming down hard. SPX is coming down hard. Banks is the bank stocks. They're dragging down SPX. Yeah, March is gonna be wild. Right, we're gonna have non-farm payroll to start the week off. Following week, CPI that runs into the same week of Quadwitch and OPEX. Right, and then FOMC. That's gonna be big. Roxanne, if you buy an option 6 months out, close to the money, on what stock? Give me a give me the name of the stock. Amazon. Okay, so if you buy an option 6 months out, close to the money on Amazon, when earnings seasons approach, let's check Amazon's let's see, when earnings seasons approach, does the premium go up as much as if you had a closer expiration? And will the premium be greatly impacted by a huge hit or miss on the earnings day? Good question, right? So first, let's break down how to get earnings and earnings date real fast, right? So pay attention, right? And this is why I like the questions in the chat, because this may be a question that another family member may have, but don't know how to ask it. So great question, right? So first thing, the stock we're talking about is Amazon, right? And the question is, if you buy an option 6 months out, close to the money on Amazon, when earnings season approaches, does the premium go up as much as it would if you had a closer expiration? And will the premiums be greatly impacted by a huge hit or miss on the earnings day? So let's look at Amazon. Right? So Amazon's earnings is February 1st, right? So now Amazon stock price is 154, right? So Amazon stock price 154. So let's say we look at Amazon, right? And we look at the premium 6 months out. right? So we look at 120 days, 126 days, right? So understand the parentheses on these contracts, expiration is the how many days out, right? So if we look, so let's go 3 or 4, right? So let's go 3 or 4, right? Let's go to March, right? Let's do a month out because their earnings is in February, right? As you can see here, you go to analyze, you go to earnings, right? This is on TOS. You go to analyze, you go to earnings, and then it lets you know where the earnings is scheduled for. So it's scheduled. Oh, MSTR managed to goes. They're up 75%. Managed to goes on MSTR. It's flying. Hold on, give me a second. Give me a second. Hold that. All right. So now, first thing you want to do is check where the earnings is at, right? Boom. Once you get that, we know February 1st, right? And now we go to trade, right? And you basically are saying, okay, I'm gonna buy more time. I'm gonna buy it close to the money, right? And the whole idea is if Amazon does run, since their earnings is before my expiration date, that place should move more, or I should make more on that contract, right? I'm just trying to understand the question. And then vice versa, if Amazon loses, even though I'm close to the money and I bought time, I should have a little more time to see if that place still comes back, right? Okay, good, good. All right, so this is a great question. Let me clear something up just to begin with. I open Amazon March 15th, right? And Amazon's 150 right now, right? If we look at the 170s, which is just $20 up, I'm paying $2 for it, right? Amazon would have to make a $20 move. But if we look at what the market makers are pricing in, they're only pricing in a $16 move. So if you don't know where I'm looking at, right, just to help your eyes, I'm looking at the 170 contract, right? But if you look at the market makers move and what they're pricing it for the option chain, it's saying $16 move. You see that? Put a 1 in the chat if you see that. MSTR again, managed to goes, managed to goes. MSTR managed to goes. If you took MSTR, put a 1 in the chat if you see the premiums. Okay, very good. So they're pricing in a $16 move, right? So let's say the 170s, right? They're charging $2. But now for let's say a $16 move, 154 plus $16, that'll be 170, right? So they're charging us 2.6, right? So two $260 for the Amazon 170s. Now, keep that in mind. That's for a play out of the money, right? They're saying if Amazon moves $16, you're obviously going to get in the money, and those have the potential to go to 8. So you can 3x that play, right? But now, if you buy at the money, because that was your question, you were saying if I buy with more time at the money, they're charging you 3x the price. You see, at the money, Amazon's currently trading at 154. If you buy the 155 contracts at $8, you're paying 3x the price. And this is why I would say that, right? If we go to Amazon for a closer date, let's say February 9th, that encompasses their earnings, right? And again, the same at the money call is only $2 less, right? So they're that's what we called event premium risk. So the market makers know that Amazon has earnings on February 1st. So any contract past that date is gonna have added premium just off the basis that they don't want to sell you a contract for cheap. Right. So you look at the 155s, that's at the money, right? They're only $2 less than a month out, right? We go to the 170s, they're $1 less, right? But now that what they're pricing in for the move is less, $12, right? But now I would rather spend 148 than 248 because I know time is not security in the options market, right? Just because I bought time doesn't secure the position. And just because I bought at the money also doesn't secure the position. Because let's say if I bought at the money and Amazon, let's say, has bad news going into earnings or delivers bad news for earnings, it doesn't matter where I bought at, those options are going to get hurt. And this is a real solid question for real, because like when you're buying an option that's like 6 months out and close to the money, you're playing a different game than short-term options, right? Because earning season happens, right? And then premiums can rise because let's say increased volatility and anticipation. So you can sell before earnings actually come, right? Just based off the IV, people anticipating. Market maker is going to start to raise the prices. So now you can benefit off of that rather than trying to hold through earnings, right? Which is a different way of trading. You're trading off the IV rather than the overnight risk of actually waiting to see what they produce for earnings. For that, you can buy out the money, right? It's not a recommendation, but I'm just saying if I was using that strategy, I would buy out the money, right, with more time. As we get closer to earnings, the IV is gonna go up. I will sell the moment the IV, I'll play the IV. I'll play that anticipation, sell on the anticipation, and then I'll roll into a weekly contract for less money, which will technically will be free. Right? I'll get more of a nearer term option and do a sharper swing, do a week, that week or 2 week swing, because now I'm trading with less money in that position. Right. But now the impact of earnings on a 6 month option, a big hit or a miss, that would definitely shake your option premiums up. No doubt about it, right? If it's a big hit and you got a month out option, understand this. Once an option goes into money, every dollar the stock goes up, your premium goes up by $1. So whether it's going to be a big hit or not depends on how deep you are in the money. Right? For example, we had the NVIDIA 330 calls, right? That was one of our big plays. We had NVIDIA 330 calls. And then NVIDIA went to what, almost 400, right? Nah, right. 380, right? So we had the 330 calls and NVIDIA went up to 380. So what does that say? We were $50 in the money, right? So that means that contract was worth $5K because we were $50 in the money, right? So you got to understand that once the stock goes in the money and your contract is technically ITM, your contracts are in the money because the stock is now trading above your strike price. For every dollar it moves above your strike price, your contracts earn a dollar. Put a one in the chat if you understand that. Put a two in the chat if it's still not really hitting and not clicking for you. Put a one in the chat if you understood that. Put a two in the chat if you need like a better explanation. Okay, Microsoft. Right? Because a lot of people have this misconception about, oh, in the money, 1,000%. And it's like, yeah, but it needs a certain amount of them. It needs a certain move to get that. Right. Uh, so now that's the first part, right? Once you're in the money, depending on how much the stock move, so you always want to calculate where the stock is at minus the difference of your strike price. Where the stock is currently at above the strike price minus the difference of your strike price. So like Nvidia, for example, Nvidia went to 380. That's where the stock was at, 380. Our strike price was 330. If we minus the difference, it's $50. That's why that play went from $300 to $5,000. Right? So Amazon also had a big move for earnings, right? But Amazon AWS is huge, right? AWS is crazy. Their cloud offerings, like Amazon, Netflix, those are the few names that in my mind will make a monster move, right? But we gotta see. We gotta see. But now that's if they make a big move. Let's say if their cloud demand, they start talking about, we don't know what these companies are going to report. Let's say they talk about the cloud demand is losing money or we're not getting enough people to work the cloud or whatever it is, right? That can shake things up now. And let's say you bought at the money, even though you have time, if Amazon doesn't produce good results, it will cause your premiums to go down if the stock goes down. Right? That's literally clear cut. This is why I don't really like to buy time because the reality of it, I'm paying more because time is a value factor in the premiums. The market makers look at it, okay, I'm gonna sell this person this contract with more time, but in reality, it's just more time for the stock to go up and down. It's not like I'm buying time for security. Right? That's like a major key thing that I want you to fully understand because, if you're buying time, you really don't know what options to buy. This is why we play weeklies or we play 2 weeks out, sometimes 3 weeks out, right? But once it gets over 100%, we're managing and you can always reposition. Whereas, like, let's say you pay $6, $8 for a contract that's at the money, a couple months out, if Amazon falls, if you pay $6, it'll get cut in half. So your contract will be worth $3. And that's going into earnings, right? But let's say if it does go up into earnings, you catch that IV, you may sell and then roll into a contract that's cheaper. So I hope that answered your question. Okay. So MTW just dropped a big gem. He said, just learn this and maybe it can help someone else. That's beautiful. Giving out these gems on TOS. When you're entering an order, be mindful of the price lock button on the order ticket. Unlock it. It will allow your order price to follow the market's changes and thus likely change to the most recent price. But if it's toggled on, it will fix the order price to a limit price that you enter. So that's definitely a good gem, right? Because we're trading with computers, right? Like this option chain, the market maker is a computer, right? So let's say you're putting in an order, they're going to automatically put you at the ask, right? You see that? The ask is 640, right? But this is why I have the last on my option chain. What is the last price that actually got filled? If you look, the last price that actually got filled is 635, but they will automatically put you in at 640, right? Even here, you're seeing that the prices is fluctuating, right? Where the last price is 635, but now the ask just dropped, right? So you always want to be mindful of where you're buying at, right? What is the ask? What is the bid? What is the last? Very good gem for my brother MTW. MSTR is flying. More questions. Who got the questions? Who got the ideas, the wisdom, the gems? Drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Got on the Nike swoosh. Just finished a workout. It is incredible though, because as I'm coming back, sweating, my mind is racing, right? I'm like, what's gonna happen today on live, right? Thinking about everything. I'm looking at other people in like their I can't even call it athletic wear and their athleisure, right? It's athleisure, right? And my mind just went to a whole nother place. I'm like, yo, we're in an era where people wear exercise clothing without exercising. It's athleisure. Like, yo, I'm a capitalist, but like I believe in profit, but sometimes like we don't realize when we're being profited from and almost made fun of at leisure. Like it's an oxymoron. Athleisure. Like it comes from the term athlete or athletic for athletic wear, and then leisure meaning to relax, to take time off, to not do anything. So how is it you have like athletic leisure when it's basically like slouchy clothes? It's like for people who don't really want to do anything. But like as I'm walking back, I'm dripping sweat. I'm sweat. I just ran, and like everyone is just like wearing it and not exercising. It's wild. It's wild to think about. So SPX going negative here. Oh my, MSTR dropping huge, huge drop on MSTR. It might even hit 580. I mean 480. It's just wild because like we're in this era where it's like, it's like unlimited phoniness. Yeah, like 100, like unlimited phoniness. Like you have many people wearing designer and it's fake. It's just straight up fake. Like some people want to look wealthy without being wealthy. I never understood that. Like we got a bunch of charlatans on the internet who tell you to fake it until you make it, which almost rarely works. Like they're essentially telling you to lie. Like, what is faking it until you make it going to do in trading? Like, how is that going to work? Like, you're going to get hurt. Like, consider, like, does that actually work? Like, let's say if I was to say, like, hey, stop, baby. I want to be a boxer. And I'll be like, okay, fake it till you make it. Like, imagine that. Like you come up to me like, "Hey, Stock, I want to be a boxer," and my advice to you is like, "All right, bet that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna fake it until you make it. You're gonna go get a professional boxing contract. You're gonna sign the contract. You're not gonna go to any boxing training. You're not gonna fight in any amateur boxing matches. You're just gonna become professional. You're gonna go ahead and get into a professional fight. You're gonna fake it until you make it. Well, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Exactly, Marcel. You're gonna mess around and get KO'd. You're gonna lose and get hurt. So think about it. Like people are telling you to lie, and somehow you take the advice of those who tell you to lie as like they're not liars. Like this is why we're here to bring you the truth, right? The truth and everything. I'm here to give you something that you might not want, but you need to understand that you need it is you absolutely need the truth. And I say this to say, a lot of people are liars, but one person that you cannot fool is yourself, right? And this is why, again, like I gave this philo before on pyramids of truth, and I explain you know that the person you have to tell the truth to, number one, is yourself. Like you can never, let's take someone who's addicted to something, right? You can never get beyond your addictions without admitting to your addictions to yourself. Like you can never understand yourself until you look in the mirror and you acknowledge who you really are, not who you're dreaming of, not who you used to be 5 years ago, but who you are today. And that's the only way that you can move forward is like starting from reality. So it's like, don't wear gym clothes unless you going to the gym or you went to the gym. Like as men, we're in control. Like you can't control everything, but like you need not control everything, but you can't control all the important things. And then which is to say, like, even in challenging times, there's great opportunities. Like you need to understand that, right? When the market is down 1%, NASDAQ down 2%, right? We're getting headlines of war. We're getting headlines of market recession, right? Even through great challenging times, we created great opportunities. Look what happened last year, right? Challenging times present opportunities for the strong-minded, right? So many great people come out of challenge. Look at Winston Churchill, right? A lot of people have disdain for your boy Hitler, but it came out of a challenging time, right? When that all happened, Germany economy was depressed, right? People were in tremendous poverty, right? They were looking for a lead, and he rose up and took the opportunity, which is to say it's all bad, but it's not even all bad. But when it's all good and joy, when it's all bad, it's still not all bad, right? A hustler can hustle as long as you keep your mind in hustle mania. And as long as you choose not to live where other people, mentally break down, and you live in your own world, that's like a beautiful thing, because there's always going to be opportunity where you seek it, especially when there's challenge. And that's the truth. And that's the beauty of wealth, because it's all over, no matter where you live. And that's where I like to keep in my mind. And I encourage you to do the same. When you when when you have something that the world presented to you, so when you see a challenge, if you're a real hustler, you should interpret the opportunity, right? So same thing in life, same thing in the market. Like, you got to really understand this. You got to really understand this, right? And this is why it's like building your mind and your body. Like, working out is not just to lose weight, it's to build your mind too, right? Especially for the men in here. Like, understand, for the men in here, there's a critical difference between you as a man and between you, woman, and child. There's a critical difference, which is to say, like, there's a challenge. Woman and child, they may cry, they may fall apart, they may become irrational, unproductive. Whereas a man, you need to take on a calmness. Let's say if war is to break out, right? I don't want people to say, "Oh, what's up?" Let's say there was a war to break out, right? Huge war. Woman and child, they may cry, right? And where us men, we should take on a calmness, especially in the fires of war. For you have been there before, and you should know what to do. And this is why woman seeks man, right? So she can be calm and unbothered by the war, and she can behave as a woman. She can behave in her feminine nature and let you stand up to the fire, because you won't be burned by it, right? And the reason why I say this is to say, like, as men, we must work on our presence of mind. We must work on our toughness. Like, you see, you can't get tough when the war starts. You have to get tough before the war starts. This is why the master Sun Tzu, if you ever read the book, I mean, if you didn't, I encourage you to read Art of War. Sun Tzu states, victory is he who is superior in pre-engagement calculations, which is to say, he who did all the thinking and planning before the problem started is who is superior. And just a side note, anytime you see someone come to attack me, know that they're also attacking you, right? For me, I'm just a representation of what you believe. You watch me because we share values. We come together as the Freedom Family, right? So together we can fight against efficiencies that we see in the culture, against the sickness and poison that they're nonstop promoting to us. Keep them, like, do you realize there's never a point of quietness and calmness? You put on your TV to CNN. You leave outside, someone's blasting music in their car. You're in your lobby, the radio is playing. Your mind is constantly being attacked. Do you realize that? You're watching a YouTube, an ad comes on. You're watching a show, another ad comes on, right? But this is where, again, like, I want you to understand, like, I want you to know that if something attacks you, You need to attack it back because guess what? People only yield to power. People only yield to power. They don't yield to reason. They don't yield to doing what's right. And it's like, it's wicked, right? That's why they started doing what's wrong in the first place. Like, I know this will help a lot of people. Like, you cannot communicate through the language of saintliness with those who are wicked because they don't understand it, bro. Right? You can't appeal to their reason because they're unreasonable. Like, you cannot appeal to their sense of right and wrong because they only know wrong. And when you see someone attacking, right, do what you can do to undo that. Like, if you see someone attacking you, attack them back. Like, use the most appropriate mean to do so. Because I assure you one thing, if you let your enemies breathe, you give them extra time to attack you and carry on, like, they're going to do so. And this is why, again, a wise man seeing opportunity and challenge, they go together. They always go together. All right, so SPX, we're starting to come down even harder now. That the 4740s are coming back alive. Let's see. Oh my, AMD 145, Tafa. Great play. Great play. So now we're starting to see things come down. I mean, certain names are holding. Microsoft is holding. MSTR, we're down 7%. Coin down 5%. Let's see who's leading the downside. Let's see who's leading the downside. Who's leading the downside here? Oh, UNH is leading. Let's see. Oh, no, no, no. UAL. UAL is down 8%. The airlines, Delta is down 7%. Yes, sir. That was support. It couldn't break above 148, 150. So I figured 145 was the next stop. Very good confidence. Very good idea. Very good idea. Again, for me, like counter trending, very hard, right? But if it's short term swing, quick profit play, good idea. I wouldn't play it for a long term, but good work. Good work. Very good work. Let's see, man. Let's see if we pop off this. Well, we went to 47.69. Let's see if we could pop from here. You know, think about snow, right? When consider when it's snowing. What happens? Some people die in the snow where it's too cold, right? They're too weak to deal with it. They're unprepared, right? Snow came, they didn't have a jacket, they didn't have gloves. Or other people, when it snows, they ski in the snow, right? They got a snowboard, they enjoy the snow, they mastered the snow because they were prepared. That's what you all should understand is that snow doesn't have to kill you. You can ski in it. And to be able to do that, you must understand the world outside and also understand the world inside, which is human nature. Your nature as an individual, understand that human beings are fearful, weak, and negative. It's part of our defense mechanisms. right? It's just what it is, right? But you should strive not to be that way. You should strive to ask yourself, well, if the average person is fearful, weak, and negative, well, that gives me great opportunity to shine because I don't look anything like that. There are going to be situations where, I'm going to look great in a situation when everyone's negative if I say something positive. I'm going to stand out in this situation when everyone's doing the weak thing and I do something strong. I'm going to look like a hero that takes opportunity. The world is always looking for a great leader. I need y'all to understand that. The world is always in need of a great leader. And that's where training, the leadership class, I'm telling you that you are greater than the average person because you wouldn't be listening to me if you weren't, because you understand my words. Right? This is where it's like the hustle, the hustler, right? Talking about that hustle's mentality, right? But this is something that I really want to clarify because on different levels, the term hustler is thrown around a lot and it's awful because the fact that when you look at it has this is why the English language is like the hardest language because it has so many different meanings, right? When you hear hustler mentality, what comes to mind? Put it in the chat. When you hear the hustler's mentality, what comes to mind? Let's see. Vago coming down. Hustler mentality. What comes to mind? What comes to mind? Let's go. Let's go, baby. What comes to mind when you hear hustler's mentality? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Break it down. Put it in the chat. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no right or wrong answer. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Go ahead, put it in the chat. I'm gonna take a couple minutes for y'all to put it in the chat. I'm gonna go get some water because I got the dry mouth. But hustler mentality, what does it mean to you? There's no right or wrong answer. Hustler mentality. Put it in the chat. What does it mean to you? Okay. So we got hustler's mentality. George said hustle mentality, get it done. Woo! By any means necessary. I'm with you on that. MTW said strong work ethic. Tafa said go get her. And this is, the fact of the matter is that most of the time you hear hustler's mentality you hear from people who have never hustled. So I want you to take a step back, from a definition standpoint to the original definition of hustle or hustler. If we're talking about in terms of mainstream language, I'm gonna just say it how it is. White American culture, when they say hustle, they mean work hard. Like if you're playing baseball and they say hustle to the ball, right? If you're talking about a hustler, you're just talking about someone who works hard. But in the context of African American speech, culture, I love the culture, right? When you say hustler's mentality or you say hustler or hustle, it means something radically different. And that's really important to understand, especially regards to what you're trying to do. Because if I understand correctly, most of what you're trying to do, you're trying to accelerate success. This is why everyone here is trading. Am I wrong? Right. That requires hustle or being a hustler, right? Particularly in the way that the African Americans mean. So, for example, when an African American speaks of a hustler, you're speaking of both a mentality as well as a way of earning. So, a hustler is generally someone that operates in the informal economy, which is to say, essentially, an outlaw criminal. And why is this important to understand? Well, it's important to understand because an outlaw and criminal is someone who is bending or breaking the rules so they can accelerate. You see, when you're following the rules, you don't have an advantage. You see, when you're following the rules, you don't have an advantage. And the reason that this concept comes out of African American culture is, for the most part, Black Americans started off a little bit behind. So if they wanted to get ahead, they had to hustle. So this is why they came up with the concept of the hustler, the outlaw, because they couldn't get a lot of jobs in the formal economy. So what you need to understand is that you need to figure out how to break the rules, how to bend the rules, how to work the system. That's really what hustling is about. It's not getting caught while you're doing it, which means that you're a clever hustler, clever hustling. It's also about outworking people, but more importantly, working quietly, working consistently, not caring about what others think, not caring about the consequences, not caring about all these things that squares care about. I'm not saying, you know, be a direct psychopath. All I'm saying is a hustler knows that they gotta do what they gotta do, and they don't really care about what anyone else thinks, whether it's their mother, their father, the law, the authorities, what have you. They're gonna do what they gotta do to make things happen. Like my boy George said, by any means necessary, you dig? So the problem is we got a lot of nerds using the term hustler when they're not. I learned early on in hustling, which is the idea that sometimes you have to do things quietly and by yourself. You don't tell anyone about it. One, is because you don't want them to snitch. And two, you don't want any judgment. You see, in the reality of things is that a lot of times when you're on your path to success, people are going to doubt you and they're going to have negative things to say. And if you're trying to do something that they can't do or they don't have experience doing it, they're going to give you bad advice or some disencouragement. I give you an example. Right? If you think about it, a person who is a loser, which there are many, but a person who is a loser, what is their programming? Well, if you think about it, their programming is around losing. That's what they know how to do. So anytime they talk to you or advise you, they're advising you on the thinking and the methods and the approach that a loser would take. You know, they're not advising you on the approach and mindset that a winner would take, because people can't give people cannot give you something they don't have. If they don't have that mindset, they can't give you it. People can't give you something they don't have, right? And here's the worst thing about it, because like they don't have like the foggiest idea that that's their program either. Most human beings are programmed to lose. Do you realize that? I told you last time about my cousin Anthony, right? But I can tell you how often I hear people talk, whether it's male or female, right? Whether it's about personal relationships or business, they're basically sharing their loser mentality. For example, I'll give y'all this story, right? I talked to this female and she said things like, you know, I want a long-term relationship. But then she was like, I kind of given up hope. And I was like, well, if you given up hope, love, like you don't really want a long-term relationship. And there's no way you can possibly be successful at a long-term relationship. Here's why. Like, number one, anything long-term requires optimism because it's not what you want it to be right now. Right? That's why in the long term, time is the ultimate test. It's going to require optimism. And the question of what if or can I or how do I to actually achieve something, you see, if you're not optimistic, you're not going to search for the opportunity. If you're not optimistic, you're definitely not going to put into work to say that you may be too jaded, right? If you're pessimistic, you're always going to find an excuse. How many people do you know that's pessimistic, right? If you're optimistic, you're always going to find a way. But most people are what? Most people are pessimistic, idiotic, and losers. And like, that's okay. But you don't have to be that way. And you don't have to put them down either, right? I'm not saying that to put anyone down, but you have to make sure that you don't become one of them. And most importantly, you know, don't listen to them and take their advice, because that's the worst part about it. You know, a lot of it, and when it comes to people, you know, they have trouble understanding or identifying the losers that are around y'all. Like, you become the company that you keep. You know, sometimes the losers are your own flesh and blood, believe it or not. It may be your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your best friend, your teacher. And here's the worst thing. They don't even realize they're losers. They don't realize it. They actually think they're doing all the right things. You see, their content, their programming, you know what a loser hates the most? A loser hates when they're your peers and they grow with you and then you start outpacing them. They hate that, right? And this is why I precisely say, you know, they're not going to give you good advice if they could. What does it feel like for your brother or your peer to have the same circumstances as you, and then you become the one that grows rich and famous, and they remain nameless? No pun intended. That's gonna burn them up. That's gonna burn their heart. And the sad part, you got to understand human nature: fickle, weak, jealous creatures of habit, right? You be wise not to trust them, right? You be absolutely wise. You be even more wise to be yourself, be good to yourself, and to be good to good people, right? You're gonna you're gonna always thrive if you keep that mindset. Be yourself, be good to yourself, and be good to good people. And this is why I always strive. I observe the way I do things, and always with great purpose. That's why I stopped giving out freebies, because I realized the people you got to give a freebie to, they don't love you. And the people that really love you and respect you, they're always going to compensate you. They're always going to show you that reciprocity. They're always going to give you a return to your efforts, right? But the people that want freebies, they really don't love you, right? So this is something that I need y'all to understand, because as you become increasingly successful, you're going to become hunted by men and women, because you have something that they perceive as valuable and they want it. What they see in you is the ability to get something quick and get something for nothing. As a hustler is similar to a P. It's a lonely existence. And the reason it's lonely, because you have a level of focus that no one else has. You see, say a hustler's mentality. One of the chief traits of a hustler is to be able to work quietly and consistently, work without fear, work without hesitation, right? Consistently, without fear, consistently, without hesitation. And this is why I'm relating this to the African American hip hop culture. The definition of the concept of hustler is the reason that it's important, because this is why, do you think that a guy who's engaging in illegal activities is out there, telling everyone what he's doing on a regular basis? Like you're seeing that in the music, but other than that, nah, he's making his moves, right? He's making his profit. He's carrying on, right? What's your stuff here? The problem is that guys now, people, because the music, all this stuff, you're too loud, right? So what happens? You decide that you're going to make a move, and because you told everyone what the move is, now what are you seeing that your peers around you, what are they doing? The peers around you, what are they doing? You told them your move. What are they doing? They can anticipate it now. And what happens is now they start playing defense against you. And you in your head, like, yo, why they're moving this way? They're even trying to discourage you in certain ways. Just imagine you tell someone you're going to become a famous YouTuber. And for example, you tell someone you want to become a model, or you tell them, you're going to do something that's big, something that's extraordinary, remarkable. Because they have no experience, they're inclined to actually discourage you first. And that's what's worse. Because when you get discouragement from someone who you love or who's around you, that can actually poison your mind. That can poison the hustler's mind. You see, and this is why you need to be able to gain that mental fortitude. Because once you get a little bit of negativity, understand this. You now have a weed that goes against that seed of your ambition. And weeds grow without water. Weeds grow without effort. Whereas conversely, a seed of ambition needs water of positivity. It needs water of support and cooperation. And maybe if the water of motivation and discipline, but understand a weed don't need any of those things and can grow easily. So sometimes I say this to say you have to work quietly and consistently and understand that that will keep your well from not being poisoned by others. And here's the funny part. As far as hustling goes, if you're around people who aren't hustlers, they don't even know that they're poisoning you. For example, like my lovely mother, I love her, but she's not a hustler, at least not in the global sense. You know, like I'm a hustler when it comes to turning a dollar. Like I like to manage to goals, right? Make that dollar, right? But like I say it in a sense, like she doesn't know how to get up on her butt to exercise, right? As simple as that, right? I'm not even talking financial. I'm talking like physical. Like she don't really know how to get up when it's exercise, right? We went out of state and it was like 105 degrees. And I said, I'm going out for the run. And she said, oh, like don't go out for a run right now. It's too hot. You may have a heat stroke. You might fall out. I said, yeah, wow, that's what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna do that. I'm going to fall out. Like I'm in top physical specimen. Like, what are you talking about falling out? Like, who's gonna fall out? Like, why would I fall out? I'm black. I'm African. We were made for the sun. Like, what are you talking about? But these are the circumstances that we're born to endure. Like, as Africans, like I'm a young man. Why would I fall out? Like, but this is what they do. They project onto you their weakness. Like I can run in 100-degree weather in Puerto Rico. Why would I know that? Because I've done it. Right? Worked in the forest, helping the people on autocovis build their roofs, build their structures back together after the hurricane hit with no food until we was finished working, and then the locals fed us. How do I know that? Because I've done it before and then went for a run up the mountain. Right? But they project weakness onto you because they're not hustlers. So you see, as a hustler, you have to take risks. And people who are not hustlers, they don't take risks. Right? And love can be dangerous for men. Right? This is why I say tough love is still love. And if you remember, I've been saying that from the beginning. Tough love is still love. And I need you to understand that love is not an emotion of do whatever you want. Love is not an emotion of doing whatever you want. Love is actually the total opposite. It's saying, nah, no, you have to do this. See, love is hard, love is fierce, and love is straight. See, society has hijacked the word love to mean I tolerate everything, and that's not love. You see, and this is why I appreciate conversations like this, because we're trying to stay consistent on all fronts. We're trying to stay consistent with work ethic, business, enterprise, maintaining relationships, good health, all that. Like I want everyone to live a complete life, and we won't allow anything to sidetrack us. You see, hustlers always prioritize, right? And you should always be prioritizing. You dig? Always the bread over it. Because at the end of the day, again, even if it's like man and woman and man, like as a man, you should be prioritizing your money. Because at the end of the day, the female is going to prioritize love, happiness, fun, sex, or whatever. But a real hustler is always going to get the bag first and foremost. So beginning of the day, end of the day. But that's everything, because I need you to realize that love will not get you on the bus if you're broke. And love won't do much of anything if you're broke. So that's not to say that money is the only value, but that is to say a hustler knows that money can be leveraged to execute on bigger plans. So understand, like, distractions that you get from other people. You see, even the people who love you, if they're not hustlers, their attempts to help you may actually hurt you. You see, the people who love you, if let's say, just imagine like it pops a 9 to 5er, right? And you tell him you want to become an entrepreneur, right? Let's say you tell him, you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to become a boss. He's giving you his advice. But think about it. Like, what his advice is worth, not to be disrespectful, it may be worth nothing. It may not even be worth his hourly wait, because he's not giving you that advice that's going to get you paid for your entrepreneurship. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't have the experience to give you that advice. So it's going to actually hurt you, but even though it's coming from a place of love. And this is why I told you before, love is nothing, respect is everything. And for a man, love can actually be dangerous. So understand, as a hustler, your goals keep you in shape. You want to keep that mind in shape and that mentality in shape, family. Yes, so the recording, I'm gonna put it out once everything uploads, put it out, put a nice graphic to it, and because everyone can benefit from this and understanding, the difference in things, how we gotta move and how we gotta navigate. Because in order to move different and elevate different, we have to actually, be out here moving different. So I want to put this out there for everyone, but understand, we're at the turn. Okay, we got the CPI, we got the PPI. You see the market went up, went down, went up. We caught a couple plays, but understand now the next big event will be at Grandma House. That's at the end of the month. Grandma House is just our way of remembering the economic roadmap. Okay, so that's FOMC. That is Jerome Powell. Okay, but understand, you need to be prepared, right? That's going to make you superior. The pre engagement is what makes you win. That's that lion thinking, right? So understand this, family. But we're gonna have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. That is the day. Somebody asks, what can they do for me? Please pray for me, pray for Aki, pray for each other, and be prepared. Never have doubt in your long term, and understand that your future self is looking at you right now. So don't F it up. Get ready, be nimble, and be excited, because as we get through these 12 months, I mean, we're going to have a lot to learn, and there's a lot of profits and goals to meet, family. So I hope you're ready. It's going to be beautiful. I love you. Get ready for 2024. Okay, it's still the beginning of the year. You want to get your mind ready, get them goals ready, and understand that that growth needs to be intentional, because time is waiting for no man or woman. And if you have your vision locked on something, you can't be stopped. So understand, man, we're growing into it. It's been a real pleasure being here with you folks today. That's every single day, but that is the day. I love you all. Amor Fati. God bless you all, and peace. Ah.